I don't know what's blowing my mind more, how good the chess was in round 4 of the candidates in Cyprus, or the fact I just became an actual chess grandmaster. I know. Let's dive in on these games here. It's the 1st of April. Cinderov's got the white pieces against Fabiano. This was the matchup of the day. Both going into the round were leading with 2.5 points. What was going to happen? Well, absolute fireworks. It was a stunning game. Queen's Gambit declined, knight f3, and knight d7 is what Fabi essayed against Giri. Not today. He munches the pawn. e4 looks like the most ambitious move, but black can support with b5 and then maybe even attack that e4 pawn in one way or another. Different game. In this one, just e3. Now upon b5, well, you don't have a pawn hanging on e4 in many lines, so Fabi doesn't try and hold on to things. We see that one munched back, and now the advance of the c pawn here. Fighting for that central space. Castles. You could start with a6. This is selected. Always get your seahorsey out. This is very standard stuff from both sides. Yes, you could prevent b5, but you weaken b4. So we don't see that. It's a horse apocalypse on the board. Now we see the pawn expansion. Bishop dropping back. This one tucks into bed. And a4 immediately plays to undermine this structure. But before you can say, show me your dancing outfit, Fabi gains space over there. The knight centralizes. You don't really want to be taking and activating this bishop. So Fabi plays knight a5. I mean, you could have taken, but I much prefer this way of playing because now you force white to take. You've got a choice. Fabi recaptures with the pawn. Very double-edged, very interesting. If you took with the queen, well, maybe you're running into some quick e4, e5 stuff. And now after takes on c5, he plunges this knight into the b3 square, showing why he went for this stuff. And it gets wild. I mean, your rook's attacked. Surely you've got to move it. But then black takes and it's looking very harmonious. So the move to play in this position is a brilliancy. Pawn c6. And the reason it's so good, if you take, white wins a piece here, so you're just an exchange down, but you're also hitting a rook, and after it moves, you pick up a pawn. And just look at the trouble on the light squares. Knight d4 is coming. This knight's pretty trapped. I mean, maybe you can get out, but not after knight d4. Rook d1's on the way. You're not castled. So you really don't want to be going for this. So bishop takes was played instead. Knight d4's the response here. Again, if knight takes rook, there's knight takes bishop, and it's good for white. There's an uncastled king. There's a trapped knight. There's too many problems. Excuse me. Very tickly throat. Now we see takes played in the centre, therefore. Pawn recaptures. And 3 times the gong sounds to take the d4 pawn. 3 times Fabi denies it. Now you could take here, but he's a bit afraid of this bishop tempo stuff. So he decides on rook g8, going for the throat of the king. f3 very playable. Yes, you can take with check, but again bishop e3. Huge compensation for white. So g3 was selected instead. Very double-edged move. You know, again, can you not take the pawn? Yes, you can. Bishop e3, queen d5, pawn f3. I mean, it's just a different game. White's got compensation for the pawn with the bishops and the rooks coming to the open files. King's in the centre. It really is an exciting position, but Fabi didn't do it. He went f5 immediately. Now, you can't take this one here, even though it looks great. Now there's queen d5. Double attack on the bishop and the checkmating square. So we didn't see this, but instead we saw the brilliant move. Bishop c4. And Cinderov's like half hour, 45 minutes up on the clock here. Really bossing it from a time management point of view. This time if takes, which Fabi didn't do, there's this crash through. Now black can actually save things with queen e4. You know, again you threaten mate, so this is the best. Bishop takes, bishop b3, but white's always standing better in these endgames. It's a structure only a mother could love. The rooks are better placed for white as well. So let's run back here. This was the plan if takes and takes. So Fabi decided instead on rook g4. Burns another 20 minutes. He's going for the centre. Also escaping some of these tactics with check if you ever crash through and winning a loose rook. So we see bishop e3 defending things. And it got me wondering, this pawn soon drops. So why not go a5 right now? Will you give up the b5 square? This is the big problem. This bishop's also loose in a number of lines. So Fabi decides to cemento things in the centre. Rook ac1, bishop e7, desperate to run the king out of dodge, and now the pawn is munched. And what's so tough for Fabi here is that even though he gets on his running shoes, after bishop b5, bishop f6, yes, his pieces are starting to come into the game, but the big problem is Cinderov can just start offering some exchanges. Not only is he a pawn ahead, but he's got this monster outside passer. This was the game. Takes here, rook recaptures, another exchange offered, denied, but now look at this, punching through the centre of the board. Pawn d5, and take note of the clock situation. 45 minutes up roughly. This is nuts. Fabi isn't just getting beaten here, he's getting demolished. Queen f3, beautiful chess. I mean, the position's kind of playing itself now at this level for these guys. Bishop takes, sure, but the centre now collapses. Look at the black pawn structure, look at the exposed king. Queen e8's desperation, holding on to f7 and hitting a4. Desperate for tricks one day, but they just don't exist. Takes was played here. The rook's now about to drop, so it drops back to g6 and pawn h4. I mean, everything wins for white. This is one simple plan. There it goes. Rook a6 swinging across. Check. King step into the corner, and now a nice finishing touch. Bishop d4 check. And if you take, well, your king's just getting ripped to shreds. If you step this way, there's rook g5 stuff, and so on. Not sure which is the best way, but it's really, really bad. Sometimes you even switch back and just threaten to win the queen. If instead of bishop takes here, you go, what, I don't know, f6. That was the game, in fact. So let's jump to there. Well, then there's this brilliant finishing move, rook c5, and Fabi just resigns it. Because again, there's these back rank problems. You're about to win the queen. How do you fight against that? You can't even move the king. Say you move the queen here to cover the square. Well, you just blundered it. You know, what do you actually do? Rook back here. Well, then you can play rook takes on c3. Pawn recaptures. And this isn't just a check. It's a mate. I mean, that is just unreal levels of boss. 36 moves. Let's jump to our next. A very, 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 very boring draw between Matthias Bluebaum and Pragnan. I mean, Bluebaum is playing with all the ambition of a bear in winter. He's just trading pieces. Here we go. Let's get that opposite colour bishop endgame. That's all she wrote. He's going for the ultimate, the 14 draw sweep, looking to steal the crown from Drawnish Giri. Fair play to him. At the minute though, these aren't even memorable draws. They're just boring draws. Okay, let's jump to our next. Andre Esapenko with white, and this guy, Anish Giri. Oh my goodness. He has come to play. He is rolling out these Najdorf defences here with the black pieces. No Berlins, no Roy Lopez's. I mean, it's been really refreshing not to see the E4, E5 stuff every single day. These guys have come to fight in this tournament. Giri really sums it up. Bishop g5 is a main line. Obviously we see a shaven Indian pawn structure. The guy's Dutch, he can actually say the word. f4 is the main line. There's also a million different queen moves. Some people try this, but maybe save that for your local club. This, however, is very rare. Sorry, my throat's so tickly. I need to go and get a drink. Please bear with me. Okay, sorry, I'm back. I do get a little bit allergic to my own BS. This is a very rare move. Now let's see what transpired. Bishop e7's on the board. Let's not forget, by the way, that Giri lost in the Najdorf to Pragnan, who played the Grand Prix in round 1. But he's not afraid to keep fighting. Which way's the king gonna go? We'll soon find out. First, here comes a brilliancy. It's knight takes on e4. Now here's the point. Knight recaptures. You've just unleashed this attack on the bishop, so you've won back your piece and you've won a pawn. How is white going to fight against that? The answer is not taking the bishop. The answer instead is knight f5. A second brilliancy, this time from the white side. And if pawn captures, you know, we have to ask the obvious, then this is the response. Discovered check. And do what you will. King f8, queen e7. This is how something can go. And although white's a pawn down, the structure's compromised. You're going to win one of them back. Or if you don't try and stop the knight, whatever. The knight comes in. Huge counterplay. Enough for the pawn. So let's back it up. We didn't see takes. We saw bishop e7 back. Takes with check and king d7. It looks absolutely absurd that Giri would go for this in one of the tournaments of his life, but this is where he's headed. Now castle's on the board. Do we want to be going that way? Maybe. This looks scary. But equally, Andrei's now planning to attack Giri's king way over on the queen side there. He starts with the explosive c4. No point pausing at every moment. Way too rich of a position. King c7's played. Knight h5 now. Bishop d7 gets some bits out. And rook fd1. Many juicy targets down the file. Giri soon finds himself in an absolute world of pain, because before you can say the pawn is pushed, it has to run away now, that king. Surely Giri doesn't do it. King b8 is very playable, but instead he takes up the gauntlet and takes the pawn on b4. Absolute ambition. Winning the pawn, opening the b file to his own king. It looks suicidal. Knight takes on d3 is played, and who'd have thought it? This is probably the most important move of the entire game from the white side. The move played is queen takes on d3. It looks so logical, just activating the queen. Sometimes it switches to the third and checks from down here. However, it's not the best move. Taking with the rook, going for some double up action, was actually better. Now there's a threat right now to take this pawn, so it looks great. And if you go bishop c6, immediately there's this c5 idea. d5 to keep lines shut, but then queen g3 check, and this is the problem. Your king never made it back there. Once you step back to d7, you're in an absolute world of pain. There's a lot of nasty stuff coming. The hunt is on. So these are some of the themes in the air. But Giri doesn't play bishop c6. He doesn't try and run away and lose this pawn. He plays the excellent star move, bishop a4. And would you believe it? It's the only winning move.
The only winning move.
It's the only move?
The only winning move.
It's the only move?
The only winning move.
It's the only...
Rook d2 is played in response. Now king b8. If c5 in this position, then there's actually bishop b5 saving the day. You know, don't sleep on these threats of queen takes and the pawns pinned. So this one was played. Bishop c6 covers. Now we get the explosive advance of the c pawn. But Giri's got it mapped out. He takes. He allows the queen to crash through and then responds with the killer. Queen d5. Double protecting b7 so you're not getting mated, and setting up threats of his own here and here. So f3 tries to keep a lid on things. Rook c7 over protects. Now this knight rotates back into the game. We get some weird kind of knight restacking. Don't really know what it's all about. But long story short, black is now bossing it. I mean, look at the pawns in the centre. Look at the bishop pair. This is the problem. If the knight off goes wrong from the white side, you can really be struggling against those central pawns. The bishops. Knight's now under fire. It steps to a4. You could play queen a3 as the top move here, but Giri goes for something simpler. Gives up the bishops, sheds a bit of advantage, but just starts running the c-pawn. How do you fight against that? I mean, he's what? A pawn ahead, a monster bishop, exposed king, tied down major pieces. This is just all over at this level of chess. Rook d2 is a threat. This one covers it. Anyway, rook d2. The bishop's still on the square. This was tried. Pawn recaptures. And Esapenko resigns the game. Because say you swap the queens, for example. Well, how do you actually parry this threat of simply check and sweeping in behind and promoting the pawn? You either win a knight, you win a rook. I mean, you just can't parry it. Best way is g3 or g4. Here comes the rook. Check. King's been given a square. And now even stronger than promoting is rook e1 to force the win of a rook. You get this, something like that. And of course, this is hopelessly lost. This was the final position. Again, 34 moves. So many games being decided sort of out of that opening phase. You know, there's some deep prep on display here. Let's now jump to our fourth and final game. It was Wei Yi versus Hikaru Nakamura, and it started with the overpowered king pawn. Hikaru also wants to fight. He plays a Sicilian, and we end up in a quirky little move order here. You know, you don't often see this sort of thing. Delayed d4, and it leads to, in just a moment, a Dragendorf from Hikaru Nakamura. So named because you're combining the Najdorf with the dragon. Beautiful stuff. We know Hikaru loves a fianchettoed bishop. This one drops off. He first tucks this one in. Now after bishop e3, knight bd7, we get pawn a4, nibbling away at the queenside structure. In a way you want to do this, but I guess it's not so hot. Knight d5, different game. This is what Hikaru selected. We get bishop recaptures, scything down towards the black king. Therefore, this one enters the game. Lovely little crossing of swords there between the bishops. Knight hops. Are you going to take? No. Queen activates instead. And this gets the brilliancy. Because you're hanging a piece, but you're not really. This is a check. Discovery. Win the queen. So instead we see castles. And now this looks like the logical move to my untrained eye. You know, pick up that lovely bishop. Queen recaptures. Then maybe save this guy. Dunno. Something like that perhaps. But the big problem is knight c5. And although you've got the bishop pair, how long have you really got the bishop pair for? You can't save it. This is too much of an important pawn. This diagonal is critical. So the knights are actually dominating the bishops here. You're going to lose one back. It's not ideal. So we didn't see takes. Wei Yi plays. Bishop takes on d7. Somehow feels a teeny weeny bit meek. Then going for the swap of these bishops. You can't help but feel he's trying to steer it towards the draw. You know, way back earlier on, could he have put the queen on d2? Started trying to trade bishops down here. Could he have gone for some h4, h5 business? Blow black off the board? I don't know. He's playing this positional way. Now we see pawn e6. Queen e1 activates. Rook a b8 looks natural. And this one swings into the game. Now why did Hikaru decline this exchange? Well, he wanted to keep complications. Bishop's on the board. But now it's forced. These ones do leave. King recaptures. The queen steps back into the game here. And after bishop c8, opening the rook, sorry about my voice, knight d1 selected. Very strange pony manoeuvring. The knight that wanted to be a queen. Knight f6 from Hikaru. And let's see what he's setting up. The explosive c4's played. It's covered by the knight. But anyway, undeterred, Hikaru plays the best move. d5. And you so often are happy in these sorts of positions if you can achieve that break. And that's why we get pawn e5, trying to mix it up. If takes, I guess a knight fork. Didn't check this one. But that looks to be it. So knight g8 was played. Super weird looking move. Franken knight re-enters the game and knight e7 from Hikaru. Covering. Now we get a couple more natural moves. Rook d1 goes for the pawn. Bishop e6 covers. And now a sneaky one from Wei Yi. No way will you find this unless you give yourself a few minutes. Knight c4. What an idea. So he's headed for this critical square. Hikaru covers with his knight. What if g4, chasing it away? Well, yes, playable, but you've really created some weaknesses there. Starts getting juicy. You know, one day, who knows? King's also exposed down here. It's a very double-edged idea. And black can always play around this knight, even though it's an octopus. So we didn't see g4. We saw straight knight d6. Now, hang on a minute. Why are you giving up a pawn? Well, it kind of fits with the theme that we've seen all game from Wei Yi. Check, king g8, and knight takes on d5. Bro is just liquidating hard into this drawn rook and pawn endgame, or is it? Something absolutely nuts is on the way. The pawn is attacked, and it's not actually so easy to defend. If g3, you really expose yourself badly. In fact, I guess that's just mate in one. And after king h2, you're losing it in a terrible way. Now, what was the better move? Rook a5, takes, and you keep some stuff on the fifth. Don't really understand it all. It's too deep for me. Watch back Peter and Jan Gustafsson if you want this crazy endgame stuff. Or download Lotus Chess, because it's actually really, really good on endgames. And it covers rook endgames, but I haven't got to double rook endgames yet. This is too much. King h2 was played. Takes with check. King g1. The bit I do understand is the bit that's on the way soon. The way for black to play to really turn up the heat. And it comes right now with pawn h4. And this is a big issue. In fact, let me go one more move. King g7's played. Rook e5. Now pawn h4. It's the same kind of themes, but I've prepared this line so it saves me clicking. King e3 running around. Check. These are some samples. You're pressuring here. You're preparing the h3 push. Check. Something like this. And you just start breaking stuff up. I mean, in this line, you actually win a pawn. If you stepped, I don't know, here, then rook e1 check wins a rook. There's a number of lines like this. Or you break up the pawns and you win the f pawn. And then even the h pawn. So it really is problematic for white if you start running this pawn. But Hikaru starts with king h6. We get rook e to e2. Now he gives a check. Drives the king out here. And before you know it, just like that, poof, the win has eviscerated. I don't think that's the word. Evaporated. But I can't quite think of the word I was trying to find. It's just gone. If you tried to push h4 here and go for some tricks, well, white can take here. You know, if you take here, you lose. But in this position, you can take here and you draw. This was the game. Hikaru's got the extra pawn, but it's well known as a theoretical draw, this 3-on-2. I mean, yes, it was 3-on-2 before, But this construction, this setup, drawn. 62 moves, he made us wait, but this is how it ended. He won't be happy in his recap tonight. Hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for sticking with it. Have a look at the video on the screen if you want some more epic chess, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.